A week ago, I could not believe my eyes at what the Minnesota Timberwolves were doing to the Denver Nuggets. The best offense since the KD Steph Warriors was completely overwhelmed at the hands of a generational defense. And Nikola Jokic, who I've called the best offensive player ever, was struggling more than we'd ever seen. After a demoralizing blowout Game 2 loss, the Nuggets were left with an exceedingly difficult path to survival. But since then, the champs have responded in outstanding fashion, as Denver has taken both Games 3 and 4 in Minnesota. Their offense has been unflappable, and Jokic has been utterly dominant, serving up a masterclass even by his standards in Game 4. Jokic has been too passive at times in this playoff run, but he immediately asserted himself as the best post scorer alive in Game 4, bullying whoever was in front of him regardless of help. Gobert and McDaniels are both parked in the paint here, but Jokic simply spins away after bullying Cat into a beautiful hook, which might as well be a layup for him. Minnesota has often deployed Rudy Gobert as a roamer against the Nuggets, trusting their other bigs to physically hold up against Jokic and putting Gobert in a position to help on Jokic shot attempts and deter all Denver drives and cuts. But when Jokic is torching everybody else and is able to avoid Gobert with hooks and short jumpers, as he is here even with 3 bigs on the floor, Minnesota will put Rudy on him. But Jokic has his number as well. He's much stronger and easily drives on him here, and when he sees the help from Naz Reid, he just fakes the spin and hits the step back fade. That's why Jokic is so dominant as a scorer. He might be the strongest player alive and he has the best paint touch ever, but he is also smarter and craftier than everybody else. And his masterful manipulation of this exceptional Minnesota defense was the most remarkable part of this game. Jokic knows the Timberwolves are huge and athletic and extremely quick to react. It's those very factors that overwhelmed Denver early in this series. So in Game 4, he simply outfoxed them, forced them to react to fakes, and took advantage of the brief windows that created. In Game 2, Jokic struggled to finish around the rim against the ridiculous length of Minnesota's defense. So in Game 4, when he back cuts Naz Reid off an overplay but doesn't catch this cleanly, instead of forcing a contested finish, he throws a little pump fake to get Reid airborne and draws a foul, which he would recreate later to get both Cat and Rudy jumping off an offensive rebound. He quickly attacks off the catch here to get a sliver of a step, but Naz has made a number of plays in this series with his hands and length. So instead of forcing a tough shot over him, Jokic pump fakes and sends Reid flying out of bounds. Here, he fakes the pass to a cutting MPJ that gets him the step he needs on Gobert. Then he spins and draws a foul from Nickeil Alexander-Walker and is not even facing the basket when he leaves his feet, but is able to put in this incredible touch shot. But perhaps the most impressive fake of the day didn't even lead to a bucket. Without looking at Conley, Jokic knows the double is coming here, so he pulls this ball away, sending Conley flying out of position, then fakes the pass to a now wide open KCP, leaving Gobert lunging towards air, and steps through to somehow miss a wide open floater. But what a fake! And unsurprisingly, Jokic was equally dominant using fakes to create open looks for his teammates. He backs Gobert down here and hits him with 2 shoulder fakes, which would create a clean fadeaway for him if Cat didn't sell out to contest, which leaves Gordon open for Jokic to wrap the ball around to him at an impressive angle. Here, Jokic has a mismatch with McDaniels, so he knows Minnesota will have to help, and he then fakes this pass to KCP to move the defense, and again, manages to wrap around this no-look to Gordon in the dunker spot. This is the advantage of being the best scorer and passer alive. Every read is on the table for you at all times, so you can manipulate defenses, no matter how good, into conceding the option you want, and Jokic did so masterfully in Game 4. But most impressively, Jokic used fakes to counter some very specific things Minnesota had done successfully early in the series. For example, at the end of Game 1, Jokic attempted this short roll lob to Aaron Gordon, which is typically unstoppable, but Gobert made an excellent read and used his special length to make a huge defensive play in the clutch. So early in Game 4, Jokic catches this off the roll and fakes the pass to force Rudy to recover to Gordon to then get himself a wide open floater. As another example, Minnesota found a ton of success doubling Jokic in Game 2, forcing the ball out of his hands and challenging the other Nuggets to beat their excellent team defense. And even in the fourth quarter of Game 4, they found success with a double, forcing a turnover as Jokic was off target on a difficult cross-court pass under pressure. So, in the final minutes, Jokic has Ant on him, which means he knows he's going to draw a double. He passes out of it at first and reposts, and usually is going to kick back out to the shooter here, which is what the defense expects. But he fakes the pass, spins baseline against a frozen Ant, and hits this floater. Nobody has ever challenged Jokic like Minnesota has, but as this series has progressed, so has his understanding of its tendencies, as he has become impossible to read, playing with this defense on a string in a way only he can. But Jokic alone couldn't completely reverse Denver's fortunes. His two-man game with Jamal Murray, who was struggling mightily, shooting just 9 of 32 through 2 games this series, is completely essential to their offensive success. And Murray has been a different player over these last 2 games, clearly benefiting greatly from 3 full days of rest for his strained calf before Game 3. In Game 1, Minnesota effectively shut down the Murray-Jokic two-man game by keeping the big attached to Jokic on his roll and trusting Murray's defender to skillfully navigate screens and apply back pressure to Murray to funnel him into a roaming Rudy Gobert and force him to settle. Murray was struggling to separate coming around those screens, so this strategy was extremely effective and forced him into a heavy dose of mid-range shots and hurried floaters that he was just missing. But over the last 2 games, Jokic has been setting excellent screens, and Murray has regained enough explosiveness to legitimately spring free of his defender. He's looked more comfortable driving, has gotten some open pull-up threes, and has been excellent as a pull-up shooter where he was previously ice cold. So when Murray is getting separation coming around screens and is on as a shooter, you can't just leave him. Cat tries to stick with a popping Jokic, but Murray has left McDaniels in the dust, and because they're running this action toward an empty corner as well, Murray has a bunch of space to operate, and Gobert can't come over to help in time. So when Denver turns to the two-man game down the stretch, Murray stays patient to allow Jokic to re-screen McDaniels and leaves him trailing the play, so Cat shows, which concedes a pocket pass to Jokic, who's automatic on floaters. McDaniels has to navigate 2 screens here, which creates a huge running start for Murray, forcing Cat again to show, creating another easy floater for Jokic. And now, as a defense, you're helpless. So, as dominant as Jokic was in this game, this Denver offense is symbiotic by nature, and you need all those parts working against a defense this special. If Murray can't hit a mid-range pull-up or shake his defender off a screen, then Minnesota can take away those passes to Jokic off the roll. If the Nuggets spot-up shooters are bricking and getting eaten alive by Minnesota's help when they attack closeouts, then they can double Jokic like hell and force the ball out of his hands. But when everybody's pulling their weight, this Nuggets offense is unstoppable. And the final key player in that equation who I want to highlight is Aaron Gordon, who had the best playoff performance of his career in Game 4. We've already talked about how a defensive key for Minnesota has been putting Gobert on Gordon so he can play as a roamer. Well, this coverage is predicated on the idea that Gordon will not take and make open corner threes at a high enough volume to punish Gobert for leaving him. But over his last 3 games, Gordon is 8 of 11 from beyond the arc, which changes everything. Here, Jokic and MPJ are both pulling their defenders way out, and Denver's 2 remaining shooters are on the weak side. So KCP has an excellent driving lane, and when Gobert roams off of Gordon to help, he nails the corner 3. This action is again taking place so high that the Minnesota defense is stretched out. McDaniels and Conley don't know if they're switching, so KCP is able to cut and leave Conley trailing, and then when Gobert steps up and help, KCP kicks to Gordon, and even though this isn't a good pass, he rises up and nails it anyways. So now you put all those pieces together and you're looking at peak NBA offense. Jokic sets a good high screen and the defense is worried about Jamal's pull-up shooting, so Cat shows just enough to concede the pocket pass and force Gobert to help on Jokic, who then kicks out to Gordon, who has been shooting so well that 2 defenders rush to close out on him and he swings to a better shooter for a wide open 3. That is unguardable, and as great as this Minnesota defense is, that's what we've come to expect from these Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets have had the best 2-man game, 3-man game, and connected 5-man offense in the NBA, and they are showing you exactly why right now. But Gordon did more than just knock down spot-up jumpers and finish dunks in Game 4. He was vitally important as a ball handler and creator, more so than he has been in any Denver playoff game over the last 2 years. In game 2, Gordon tried to isolate some, but played a bit out of control and forced some tough shots. In game 4, however, he was a mismatch for every Minnesota defender on the floor. Gordon possesses unique physicality in an explosive spin move that allows him to attack Ant in single coverage here, and his technical ball handling was excellent in game 4, as he beats Anderson ball pressure here with that combination of physicality and quickness, and pulls out a nasty hesitation into a crossover to dust Alexander Walker here and then dunk on Ant. So he was bullying Minnesota's wings, but a bigger defender like Cat can't pressure him up at half court here. He's too quick and was making excellent reads as a passer as well. That playmaking was crucial to Denver winning the non-Jokic minutes in this game, during which Gordon was the primary creator. Minnesota willingly switches this with Conley and Anderson, but Gordon is far too much for Conley to handle in single coverage, and he keeps his composure after spinning in to help to deliver this beautiful dump off to a cutting Brown, who's then patient as a finisher. Minnesota again switches this with Alexander Walker and Anderson, but Gordon has such a size advantage now that as he backs down the defender, the entire Minnesota defense sinks in to help, and he kicks out to Holiday for 3. Denver has desperately needed players who can break down Minnesota's defense off the dribble and put them into rotation. No one could do it through 2 games, but Gordon has stepped up to fill that role in a huge way. So this is why, as genius as Jokic was, Denver's turnaround is about much more than just him. It's about a smarter, more deliberate offensive approach over the last 2 games, getting into actions more quickly to keep the shot clock from winding down, making the extra pass, and pump faking to punish some of Minnesota's aggressive rotations and help instead of simply allowing their athletes to swallow you up, taking better care of the basketball. It has just been a complete 180 from where the team was at after game 2. Over the last 2 years, Denver has cemented themselves as one of the top 3 offenses this century, in my opinion, and nobody has disrupted them nearly to the extent that Minnesota did earlier in this series. But facing their biggest test yet, it has again been Jokic and the Nuggets who have found all the answers. This is a special group that is humming right now, and when they're locked in, they're the best we've got.